Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the nameless saints in the Bible. And so obviously in the Bible, like there are many heroes and many like titans of the faith and many like solid dudes. So we're going to start with a small quiz. I'm going to give you a descriptor and you have to give me the person's name, okay? Okay, number one, built the first mobile zoo.
No.
Okay, tried to kill his son.
Abraham.
Next. Okay. Played instruments, wrote songs, slept with other people's wives.
Luke.
Okay, now a little more tough. Old Testament Usain Bolt.
Elijah.
Preacher man. Okay, and finally, reverse sushi. Reverse sushi.
Esau.
Jonah. Sushi woman.
Okay, yeah. But there are also so many people whose names we don't know who are just as faithful. And like, I'm not talking about people who have recorded experiences of visitations or things like that. Like the shepherds, we know they, like an angel came and spoke to them. But today we're talking about people who did things and we really are not sure if anyone said anything. We doubt that anyone, like an angel or a visitation, anything like that happened. So basically these are people who acted purely on faith, as far as we know and what's recorded in the Bible. They acted purely on faith. Their names are known to us, but their deeds are still recorded in the Bible, and that's like really the beautiful part. So we look at 3 saints today. I'll just ask people to take their Bibles out on their phones, and people can just read 3 stories and the lessons we can learn. Right. So the first one is, if someone can read Luke 8:43 to 48. Go for it then.
Okay. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. But no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you. But Jesus said, Someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me. Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace.
Okay, yeah. So basically this woman and desperate faith, which we don't know her name, but she ended up being the first person to believe she could get healed just by touching Jesus' garment. And we know this has happened later. Jesus has said also that your faith has healed you to other people, but this is the first person where he's like, I felt power go out of me, which means that her faith is just so strong that Jesus didn't even know that there was healing happening when it just went from him. The second person is John, chapter 4:25.
The woman said, I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, am he. Then, leaving her water jar, the woman went back to the town and said to the people, Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? They came out of the town and made their way towards him. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I ever did. So when the Samaritans came to him, they urged him to stay with them, and he stayed 2 days. And because of his words, many more became believers. They said to the woman, We no longer believe just because of what you said. Now we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this man really is the Savior of the world.
Thank you. So this is the Samaritan woman at the well. And yeah, basically she became the first evangelist for Jesus. Even like I think everyone else became evangelist after he rose from the dead, but this one is like just met him and has gone and told people that he's the Messiah, and the fact of the beautiful sharing of the testimony where she's like, come and see who I've met, and they're like, now not just by your words but because no one believed, we also believe. So it's amazing. But okay, so the last passage is Luke 22:7.
7
Oh, sorry, 13.
to 13.
Yeah.
This is reading.
Then came the day of unleavened bread on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover." "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" they asked. He replied, "As you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there." They left and found things just as Jesus had told them, so they prepared the Passover.
Thank you. So today's message, I'm going to focus primarily on this person, the owner of the room, and his obedience, and really like the fact that he acted on blind faith for the preparation that had to happen for Jesus to go and have the Passover meal at his house, which is a big deal. It's like Christmas lunch almost, right? At that time. And so I like to like imagine what that conversation between the owner and his wife would have been like. Nestin is playing the husband and Prema is playing the wife.
Oh, thank you for telling us.
Based on Nestin's previous.
One second.
Go over there.
I'll go and open the door and come in.
Okay. No,
Loudly.
he's opening the door.
Yes, I know.
Listen, we need to get the upstairs room ready.
Why? Are we expecting guests?
I think so.
But I thought this Passover would be just us.
Yeah.
Then
Then what?
why are we getting the room ready?
I don't know. Maybe you were expecting guests.
Maybe? Did you invite anyone?
No, did you?
No. So why are we preparing the room? I didn't invite anyone.
Good. You said the Passover will just be us.
Yes, I did. So why are we getting the room ready?
I don't know.
You're not making any sense. I'm leaving.
Okay, listen. Before you leave, just get the room ready. No?
Fully possible this is, huh?
Like a scene from their life.
Thank you, Prema and Nestin. So yeah, the owner of the room probably had no clue why he was supposed to get this room ready. He probably got just like a prompting or a feeling, or just he's like, I have to get the room ready, and so I will do it without any knowledge or explanation as far as we know. But once the disciples would have come and said the teacher would like to have Passover meal here, you can just imagine the person's joy and even his wife's joy when they would have heard that, and that really the blessing that their obedience had brought to them and their household. Even in this fellowship, right, we've heard stories of people being led to pray for someone, people just being prompted to say one word to someone that has meant so much to that person, or just give something or send something that in that moment, that person would have no idea of why they have to do it, but in the doing of it, the blessing that comes out of that would just be, again, unimaginable and beyond anything we can ever think of, right? And so, really, as God's perfect plan unfolds, it always leaves us amazed and shocked at how He works. And really, this verse came to me like 2 minutes before the sermon with Prema's help. Ephesians 3:20, if anyone can read it.
Now to him who by the power at work within us is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask or imagine.
Yeah. Far more than all we can ask or imagine. And really that's, I feel like what the crux of obedience to God is, which is, obedience is then the act of not getting in God's way and not getting in God's, like nudging God out of what His purpose is and what His plan is, either for one person or for many people, or like even for the whole world, right? And this, if He's laying something on your heart, then the not doing of that is not just a neutral thing, it's a negative thing. It has a negative impact on, we don't know again how much or how many people. And so we are meant to fully submit and be instruments of His will, and in doing so we will be more than we could have ever imagined or achieved on our own. And no matter how much we think we can plan, no matter how much we think we see the bigger picture and X and Y and how much we know people, we will never know as much as God knows. We will never know and see as much as God sees. And so really that famous saying of God doesn't choose the qualified, or doesn't he? Yeah, he qualifies the chosen. He qualifies those he chooses. And so I think that's another thing that we need to address within ourselves, that even if we're not in a position of leadership, even if we don't have a title, even if we feel like we don't have power on our own or authority over other people or authority over things, every response and act of obedience to God touches God's heart, and God will use that for His kingdom purposes. Again, beyond what we can see, beyond what we can know, and really the beauty of it is you will see it after it's done. In the doing of it, you will not be able to tell, you will not know, but once it happens, you'll look back and you'll be like, really, that was something amazing. But there's the other thing also, which is, if there's something that you leave undone, then that gets left undone, because God has created each one of us for a specific purpose, and He has plans for each and every one of us. And so if He's laying something on our heart, if He's saying something to you, then there is something that needs to be done, that He wants you to do, and there is no one else who can do that. There is no one else in that space, in the space that you are in your life, that can accomplish the things that God needs you to accomplish. And so this reminded me of, I don't know how many of you know Russell Peters, the comedian?
Yeah.
Generally, okay. So the really famous thing about his dad giving him a beating, right? And he says, somebody gonna get hurt real bad. And then Russell says, I'm gonna call the cops and go to jail. And then the dad says, yeah, but the cops will take 10 minutes. And by that time, your goose is cooked. And he's like, but I'm your only son. He said, it's okay, I'll make another one. But God doesn't work like that, because God has put each and every one of us here in a specific place, whether in our families, in our friend circles, in our jobs, in the spheres of influence that we're in. Even if we don't know that they're spheres of influence, we're there for a particular reason. And God will never say to us, that's okay, I'll make another one. If we're not aligned with what God's telling us, if we can't hear what God's saying, we need to align to that and do that, because otherwise it gets left undone. And I feel like that's what scared me, because I was like, oh gosh, because when I go to the final tally, I'm like, this much is incomplete. That's really scary, right? And also the thing of, just like when we see the things that we do in faith and the results of that, imagine the feeling of things that we have not done and the results that could have been. So each of us really has a part to play in God's story, whether people see it or not, whether we ourselves understand it or see it or not. God has a plan, God sees it, God will recognize it. And it might be something that like it might be someone giving you a word, it might be a dream, it might be something that drives you and pushes you, or it might be something that has just come and you cannot understand, and you'll be like, God, are you sure this is what you want me to do? But you just have to follow through in blind faith and obedience, really, because that's what we're called for.